What does dreaming about high school mean? This type of dream may reflect unresolved matters from your past. It can also represent chances that you may have missed or decisions that you are feeling sorry about. It also gets you to think about what could have been or how things should have turned out if you didn't make certain choices at key times in the past. When you have this type of dream, it can also reflect that your subconscious is picking up signals about your former friends or people from the past. This is an indication that you may want to reconnect with them, or you may be struggling with nostalgia, which can be quite tricky to navigate. When you have this type of dreams, you may also be thinking about role models that you had as a child. You may be reminded of whatever it is that you liked about them or the reasons why you looked up to them in the first place. What does it mean to dream of being back in high school? This is a very interesting dream because you see yourself being back in high school. You look the way you did many years ago. Your subconscious is trying to call your attention to your need to go back to a more basic way of living. You're feeling that the way your life is shaping up today and your day-to-day experience is just simply too complex and too confusing. There's a part of you that simply wants to just go back in time so things are simpler and easier to understand. There are definitely less challenges because guess what? You already overcome them because you're older now. You see the paradox. This type of dream also implies that you're making good progress on your own. You made it through. You made it this far. But it does indicate that you probably will need the help of other people to achieve the kind of breakthrough that you need for success. Your subconscious, through this type of dream imagery, is encouraging you to form meaningful bonds with people who have walked the path you're on before. These are older people. These could be your role models or mentors. Whatever the case may be, your subconscious is telling you that you will be able to only build the kind of expertise and coping mechanisms you need to achieve a breakthrough to the path of success if you allow yourself to reach out and make connections. This doesn't have to be deep, personal connections, but you have to reach out. You have to give yourself permission to get out of your shell. Your subconscious may be communicating that you feel that you already know enough. You feel that there's no need to learn anymore, or whatever new information you may come across can easily be fit into the things that you already know and believe. This is very dangerous. This gives you a false sense of confidence, and you're not really growing. What does it mean if you had multiple dreams about your high school? If high school seems to be the central recurring motif of your dreams, your subconscious is trying to tell you that you are fearful and uncertain about making significant life changes. You know that you need to make the change. This can take the form of moving to another city or switching jobs. But part of you is trying to hold back. Part of you is fearful. So you look at the past or images from the past to give you some sort of emotional comfort. But the sad reality is the answer can only be found in the future. It can be found in the present time. It won't be found in the past. You're just simply reading into the past, comforting messages and themes that you are looking for to make your current struggles more manageable. To put it in as simple terms as possible, you're just fooling yourself. You have to deal with things as they exist today. You have to focus on the here and now. While the past can be helpful if they contain lessons, please understand that those lessons must push you forward and up. You cannot allow them to drag you back and oversimplify things. That kind of thinking is not going to help you one bit. What does it mean if you dream of being in a high school class? If the main focus of your dream involves you being in the physical confines of an actual high school classroom, your subconscious is trying to tell you that you are able to absorb new information much better than you care to realize. A lot of people have a tough time with this because they think that once they get past a certain age, they pretty much know everything. They can just fit in new information into the structure that they have built into their minds. So they're not really open to new information that can turn their world upside down. I get it. You want to protect what you feel you have built over time. But the problem is there are certain pieces of new information that require a profound change in mindset. So your subconscious is trying to tell you that you have this inner fantasy of putting everything into guardrails, putting everything into fixed structures that you feel comfortable with. And that's okay, but please understand that this can only serve you to a certain extent. At some point, you have to trust yourself enough to doubt whatever it is that you think you know and just embrace your new life with open arms and learn along the way. This is how you reinvent yourself. This is how you truly learn. And by showing images of you in an actual high school classroom, your subconscious is telling you to reconnect with that student mindset that we all began with. When you have a student mindset, you go into a situation wanting to learn. You're not going there to demand to be understood or to tell the teacher or whatever it is you think you know. Instead, you allow yourself to receive information. So if you can reconnect with that way of thinking from your past, your present and your future would be better off. What does it mean if you dream about your classmates? It depends on the perspective of your dream. Do you find yourself joking around being in the middle of the class with people physically close to each other? Or do you see yourself in in a mental picture that is somewhat distant? There's a cluster of students or classmates in the middle, and then there's you off to the side. If you see yourself in the middle, then your subconscious is telling you that you are in a position to fully learn from other people. And the secret is to come in with the mindset that you are the one who seeks to understand. If you're able to wrap your head around this, then you will be able to take in information and make sense of them in such a way that they actually work for you. On the other hand, if you look at collective wisdom as a form of threat, or you go out of your way to prove to yourself that you are somehow different, or you think differently, or there's something wrong with everybody else, then the thinking process leads to a more difficult learning process, because whatever information you're picking up has to be filtered through your ego, and this is getting in the way of you learning what you need to learn to exist better or to do better in your present life. Do you see the conflict? Do you see how this all turns on your attitude? So you need to change your attitude regarding how you get information and process information from others, because believe it or not, despite the fact that they make a different amount of money than you and that they look different from you, they also have different experiences that you can learn from. Let me put it this way. It's much better for them to pay the price of making mistakes in the past than for you to pay that price making those same mistakes in the present. You see how this works to benefit you? What does it mean if you dream about meeting your classmates? If your dream is about meeting your classmates in the present time, and these classmates are people you knew or met in high school, your subconscious is trying to tell you that you value your friendships and want to maintain them. But you also are aware of the recent changes in your lives that tend to get in the way of maintaining friendships. This is unavoidable because as people get older, they tend to move away, they tend to level up, they tend to go into different directions. That's how life works. Change is the only constant in life. But if you are looking to maintain your bonds with people, you have to roll with the changes. You can't insist that they stay in the same place or that they be the same people. It doesn't work that way. So your subconscious is showing you when you are dreaming about coordinating, about meeting your classmates and going through all sorts of processes to remain connected with them, your subconscious is telling you that you are on the right track. You value these friendships and you are you are exhibiting a mindset that would enable you to maintain those friendships because you are open to change. You're not judging people. You're not expecting them to remain the same. You're not trying to mold them in your image. You're definitely on the right track. Of course, there's going to be some misunderstanding. There might be some mixed signals along the way, but that's how it works. You tend to run that risk when you're dealing with other people. What does it mean if you dream about being violent with or getting into a fight with your high school teacher. If you find yourself in your dream fighting with your high school teacher, either verbally or physically, your subconscious is trying to tell you that you have issues regarding self-control and the larger issue of learning from others. Again, the central motif of high school dreams is your ability to deal with other people. And this involves learning from them, reading them correctly, and coming up with the right assessment or judgment of things that happened in the past. And when you see yourself fighting with a person in an authority role in your dream, your subconscious is trying to tell you that you have a tough time taking people at their word. You have a tough time learning from people as they are. Let me put it this way. If you know that somebody is a thief and a robber, it's going to be hard for you to learn from that person because that person's status as a thief and a robber is going to filter in your mind whatever wisdom they're trying to share with you. It's as if their status pretty much condemns them to a huge amount of skepticism on your part. The opposite is also true. If you think that this person is successful or this person is is a person who achieved a high level of status, you are more likely to be open to that person and less critical. That is also dangerous. Why? You are not filtering the information. You're not using your thinking faculties to figure out if this stuff is true, or how does this stuff fit with what I think I know. So your subconscious is telling you that when you see yourself fighting with an authority figure like a high school teacher in your dreams, you have to pay closer attention to how you filter people. That your attitude towards the truth shouldn't turn on the status of the person telling you the truth. Instead, you should focus on the fact that it is the truth that you're listening to. So focus on what they're saying instead of who is doing the saying. What does it mean if you dream about talking to your former high school friends? The key here is the fact that these are your former friends. Things didn't work out. You're no longer friends. And it's really important to understand that there is unfinished business. There is some closure that needs to be taken care of. You have to think about why the friendship ended. And this is not a question of who's to blame. So you have to pay attention to your attitude. You're not thinking about these in terms of whose fault is it. You have to think about why it happened and where you were mentally, emotionally, and spiritually when it happened. Because you have to understand these people are gone. It would be great if you get reunited with them and there's some forgiveness and reconciliation. That would be nice. But don't bet on it. Don't expect it. Instead, focus on yourself. How have you changed? How do you need to change? What lessons can you learn from this past broken relationship? Because dead friendships are broken relationships. Otherwise, you're going to just keep thinking about these unresolved issues and you have this hole in your heart because you're looking for closure. And it's not helping you in your present life because you have to deal with things as they exist right here, right now. Worse yet, you look at these past relationships as some platform for you to read into or project onto your dissatisfaction, anxiety, annoyance, and tiredness of your present life. You're not doing yourself any favors if you look at these memories as basically a jumping off point for the frustrations that you're facing day to day. What does it mean if you dream about your classmate but can't recall his or her name? Names are what define us. Our names set our limits. They also clue people into our full potential. That's how important names are, and it's why when you read the Bible, names mean a lot. Abram was a completely different person from Abraham. Israel was a different person from that man named Jacob. I could go on and on. With a simple name change, people change their destinies. When you see yourself in your dream, unable to recall people's names, your dream is actually projecting to you the fact that you have forgotten your name. You were put on this earth for a reason. You have a destiny. Believe it or not, your life has meaning. You're not just this random speck floating through of dust, floating through time, only to get snuffed out sooner rather than later. Everything that you think, say, and do in this planet has an effect. I know that's very hard to believe because a lot of people have basically resigned themselves into thinking that they're just another face in the crowd. They're thinking that there's really nothing special about them and they have no impact. The moment they die, the world will continue to spin on its axis and continue to keep doing its thing. Well, that's how we think subconsciously at many different levels, and it's really too bad. Because when we do that, we remain blinded to our destiny. Your subconscious is telling you that you have a purpose, and it is your responsibility to yourself to find that purpose, and more importantly, to live it out. And when you see yourself forgetting other people's names in your dreams, your subconscious is telling you that you have forgotten your purpose, or you are intentionally blind to it because you feel that there are more important things to do. Well, let me clue you in on an important truth. This is the most important thing you can do. Find your purpose and live it out. You only have one life to live. What does it mean if you dream about your high school building? If the main focus of your dream is that physical structure where you hold classes and class assemblies and where people hang out, your subconscious is trying to draw your attention to the fact that a lot of the ideas that you use to structure your daily life, I'm talking about who you think you are, where you think you're going, where the things that you think you can do and cannot do, so on and so forth, are actually based on ideas that you have picked up in the past that may not be all that relevant today. In other words, you need to move on from high school with its small buildings and its quaint locations. You have to build your life in the here and now. And this means looking at what you're dealing with and coming up with something that's more responsive. Maybe the reason why you're feeling frustrated with your job, or you feel that your relationship doesn't have quite the amount of love, acceptance, and belonging you expect from it, is because you try to shoehorn everything into a mindset that no longer applies. This mindset may be from 5 years or even 20 years ago. This mindset may be the exact same mindset you had back in high school. You see what's wrong with that picture? You had that mindset in high school because it addressed the issues that you were dealing with. Maybe you're this pimply-faced kid who's very insecure about your looks, and you don't quite know whether you fit in with the high school social hierarchy and all that stuff. But you need to leave that behind, because that mindset may have worked back then, but it's definitely not doing you any favors today. What does it mean if you dream of playing sports during high school? A lot of people who have this dream are either nostalgic because they actually played high school sports, or they wish they played high school sports. Whatever the case may be, the key here is nostalgia and yearning. Nostalgia can be a prison. Seriously. Because when we feel nostalgic, what we're doing is we are projecting a lot of our insecurities and frustrations about our present time to the past. And we walk away with this impression that it's never going to be as good as the past. You're deluding yourself when you think that. Because the best life you could live right now is the life you have in front of you right now. And when you use the past to project your insecurities and frustrations onto it, you're doing yourself no favors. Because whatever frustrations you have must be dealt with today. You have to work on it right here, right now. And thinking of your past glory years as a high school athlete is not going to help you. So you feel small today. Maybe you're not making as much money. Maybe people are disrespecting you. Maybe you feel you don't have the status that you feel you deserve. Those need to be dealt with today. You can't use your past glory or your past achievements to fill this hole in your heart today. That's worthless. So the key here is to come up with a different way of looking at the past so you get out from under nostalgia. And I would suggest that you look at your past achievements as a prelude or as a preparatory point or a stepping stone to the greater heights that you are going to achieve, not just today, but in the future. When you do that, you make nostalgia work for you instead of against you. When you do that, the past stops becoming a prison. It stops being a prison. Do you see how this works? And similarly, wish fulfillment of looking at the past and hoping and wishing that you did something different or you were a bigger man or woman back then isn't helping you either. Because whatever yearning you may have for a better reality must take place today. It's a waste of imagination to wish you were somebody else in the past. The past is never going to come back. It already happened. The good news is you can make sure that whatever it is you're doing right now, whatever it is you're feeling right now, can push you forward and propel you upwards. It's your choice. What does it mean if you dream about your high school subjects? If you see yourself going through the books, and these are high school subjects like high school AP classes or geography lessons, this can be a nostalgic memory regarding your ability to learn in the past. Many people who focus on the dream, who dream about focusing on high school books, are actually under the impression that they were able to learn better in the past. This is a cop-out. I don't mean to be rude, but you actually can learn whatever it is you want to learn today. And your brain is able to absorb information at roughly the same level as in the past. Of course, there are physical limits to it, and researchers have verified this. There is some sort of degradation, but generally speaking, you can still learn. You can still choose to level up. But here's the problem. You don't want to. You have become old mentally. I'm not talking about your physical body. I'm talking about your mental and emotional state. Because as we get older, we feel that, why do I have to go through that again? Why do I have to look at first principles and reorder everything based on what I'm experiencing instead of based on what I think I know? And this is the resistance that you are feeling, and your subconscious is projecting a desire for learning in the past based on two agendas. The first agenda is to just simply hold you back, to simply say, well, you were able to learn in the past, but your best is behind you. You're now older, so you can't learn the same way, and you can't retain the information the same way. That's just the way it is. This is an excuse. It's a cop-out. It gives you this mental bandage for an excuse for refusing to try. Another agenda is that it glorifies past learning, meaning that the heavy work has already been done in the past. That's not true. Because there are pieces of information that will make you doubt what you think you know. And this is precisely that golden opportunity for you to revisit certain things and certain assumptions. And this makes you a better thinker. Again, this is just an excuse for sloppy thinking. So if you want to take charge of your life, the first step to doing that is to take charge of how you think. Be more bold. Be bolder. Be more courageous. Be more humble. And say to yourself, okay, the way I thought about things is wrong. I assumed the wrong things. Now I'm open to the truth. And maybe by pursuing the truth as you see it and as you interact with it on a day-to-day basis, you will get better results. What does it mean if you dream of going through a pile of high school textbooks? The main focus of this dream is not so much the knowledge contained in those books, but your attitude towards studying in the first place. I'm sure you have that you have, like other people, unpleasant memories of having to plow through books. It's not so much the books and the information they contain that is the problem. For most kids, the problem is the fact that they have to go through that process. People like to learn in open-ended ways. If you feel that you're being shoehorned or being forced to go through a process to learn, it becomes much tougher because it's not just an intellectual thing. It's also an emotional thing. You feel that you are being forced to do things. This is the issue that is behind the dream of going through a pile of high school textbooks. You have a part of you that is not comfortable with having to go through that process. But let me tell you, unless you're pursuing your dreams, you will have to get a job helping somebody who's pursuing theirs. You have to practice self-discipline. Otherwise, other people's discipline will be imposed on you. If you thought you had a tough time having to go through those books because there's an exam coming up, can you imagine having to repeat that again and again for the rest of your life? But this time, it doesn't happen within the four walls of a high school. It happens at your job. It happens in your relationships. It happens in your family. So you have to change your attitude towards learning, or more importantly, developing. Because you can continue to look at this as a chore that is imposed on you, or you can look at it as an adventure. You can look at it as a way to find more, discover more, and celebrate yourself. Attitude is everything. What are the positive interpretations of dreaming of your high school life? The positive interpretation of this type of dream is that this is the past. You have become who you are, and you've survived high school. You know how brutal high school could be with all its hierarchies and all its processes? But you survived. You made it through. And now you can fondly look back at your high school years, knowing full well that you have made it. And this is the best message you can choose to receive from your subconscious that is showing you high school imagery. High school is not a place to relitigate or go over your past issues. It is not a place to project your present frustrations and disappointments. Instead, it is the past. Let the past be the past. As the Bible says, let the dead bury the dead. Because if not, you will allow your past to define you, and this gets in the way of you fully taking advantage of the opportunities that are present right now, surrounding you, leading you to life itself. What are the negative interpretations of dreaming of your high school? I have already laid them out. You shouldn't use your high school dream imagery as a projection screen for your current frustrations and disappointments. You're not doing yourself any favors when you do that. Also, to assume that the answer is already in the past really just gives you an excuse to stop thinking and stop learning today. So stop looking at the past from that lens. Instead, use it, learn from it, and move on.